Executive Peralta from BSIT 1A. So, first American era. The period of U.S. influence, democracy, and imperial rule over the subject Filipino was so patiently jarring to the most Americans that from the beginning of the training of Filipinos for self-government and ultimately independence, the Malolos Republic was conveniently ignored was an essential resolution for U.S. harmony in the islands. Policy differences between the two main political parties in the United States focus on the speed with which self-government should be extended, the date on independence should be granted. In 1899, Press William McKinley sent to the Philippines a five-person fact-finding commission headed to the Cornell University President Jacob G. Sherman. Inulat muli ni Sherman na nais niyang ang nais ng mga Pilipino ay tunay na kalayaan. So, pero ngunit nun, wala itong agarang epekto sa patakaran. Pero pinatala ni McKinley ang pangalawang komisyon sa Pilipinas noong 1900. Sa ilalim ni William Howard Taft hanggang Hulyo 1901 ay nagtatag ng pambansang pamahalaang sibil. In 1907, the Philippines Commission, which had been acting as both legislature and Governor General's cabinet, became the upper house of bicameral body. The new 80 member of the Philippine Assembly was directly elected by the somewhat restricted electorate from the single member of district, making it the first elective legislative body in Southeast Asia. When Governor John Francis B. Harrison appointed a Filipino majority the commission in 1913, the American voice in the legislative process further recluded. Si Harrison ay isa lamang na gobernador general na hinirang ng isang pangulo ng demokratiko sa unang 35 na taon ng pamahalaan ng Estados Unidos. So ipinadala ni Woodrow Wilson na may mga tiyak na tagubilin upang ihanda ang Pilipinas sa tunay na kalayaan. So nagpadala si Woodrow Wilson sa Pilipinas para maayos yung ipinasang papel para sa tunay na kalayaan ng Pilipinas. Isang layunin ng isang masigasig na sinusuportahan ni Wilson. Ang batas ng Jones na pinasa noong 1916 ay naayos na isang tiyak na petsa para sa pagkaaloob ng kalayaan kung ang Senado ay nagkaroon ng paraan ngunit pinigilan ng Kamara. So, nakapaloob sa kalayaan pinag-uusapan ng Senado pero pinigilan ito ng Kamara na sa paglipat parang sa huling anyo nito sinabi lamang ng batas na layunin ng mga tao ng Estados Unidos na kilalanin ang kalayaan ng Pilipinas. Sa sandaling ito may tatatag ang isang patatag na pamahalaan dito ang higit na milyahe sa pag-unlad ng autonomiya ng Pilipinas. Sa ilalim ng provision sa batas ng Jones Commission ay natapos pinalitan ng 24 miyembro ng Senado halos buong halalan. In the initial year of U.S. rule, hundreds of school teachers came from United States, but Filipino teachers were trained so rapidly that by 1927 they constituted nearly all that 26,200 teachers in public school. So And then, ang populasyon ng paaralan ay lumalawak ng 5 beses sa isang henerasyon. Natu- nat- Natupok ng edukasyon ang kalahati ng paggasta ng pamahalaan sa lahat ng antas ng oportunidad edukasyon sa Pilipinas at malaki ang kaysa sa anumang ibang kolonya sa Asia. Mabilis at mahusay na ginagamit ng mga Pilipino ang oportunidad para sa sariling pamamahala na binuksan ng Estados Unidos. So, susunod ang Spanish era. Spanish era's colonial motives were not, however, strictly commercial. The Spanish at first viewed the Philippines stepping stone to the richest East Indies. So, ano nga ba ang East Indies or tinatawag na Spice Islands? Ang East Indies ay mga archaic term na tumutukoy sa lupain, para siyang lupain na sa silangan ng subcontinent ng India, lalo na sa maritime timog silangang Asia at bahagi ng silangang Asia. So yun yung East Indies, para siyang lupain. The Portuguese navigator and the explorer Ferdinand Magellan headed to the first Spanish foray the Philippines when he made landfall on Cebu in March 1521. A short time later, he met untimely death on the nearby islands Mactan. So dito naganap yung digmaan sa Mactan, yung magkalaban sila ni Lapu-Lapu, namatay siya. After King Philip II, for whom the islands are named, had dispatched a 3 further expedition that ended disaster. He sent out Miguel de Legazpi, who established the first permanent Spanish settlement in Cebu in 1565. Founded in 1571. And by the 16th century, most of the coastal and lowland areas from Luzon to the northern Mindanao were under Spanish control. So, kontrolado ng Spanish ang coastal lowland areas ng Luzon hanggang Mindanao. Roman Catholic of the people under Spanish administration, but Muslim of Mindanao and Sulu, whom the Spanish called Moros. So, and then, ang Moros ay parang pangkat ng Muslim na binubuo nila ang populasyon ng Pilipinas na halos 5% nakabuong populasyon sa ating bansa. O 5 milyong katao, karamihan 5 milyong katao, karamihan dito ay mga Muslim. So, and then Manila was also ecclesiastical capital of the Philippines. So, ano ang ecclesiastical? Ito yung simbahan, para siyang simbahan na may kaugnay sa mga Kristiyano o mga pari. The Governor General built the Church of the Islands, but the archipelago viewed him the political supremacy in the 17th and 18th centuries. The Archbishop, who also the legal status Lieutenant Governor, frequently won, arguing their political power. Religious orders, Roman Catholic hospitals, and school bishop acquired the great wealth, mostly in the land. The cultural goal of Spanish clergy was nothing less than the full Christianization. Decade of missionary work local religious were viciously suppressed, old practices were not tolerated, but as a Christian light, laity, one in become increasingly difficult to the prevention of ancient beliefs and custom and under Roman Catholic grab, thus even the areas of religion, pre-Spanish Filipino culture was entirely destroyed. So munti ka na ma-destroy ng Spanish yung culture ng Pilipino. So last is Japanese era. On December 8, 1941, Japan invaded the Philippines. A mix of local and American forces, most without combat experience, rushed hold of the professional veterans of Imperial Japan. Noong mga taon 1930, nagsimula ang Japan sa isang kampanya pagpapalawak ng nilang makuha ng kapangyarihan sa kanilang mga kalapit na bansa upang paalisin ang influensya ng Amerikano. So, gustong manakop ng Japan ng mga kalapit nilang bansa para makakuha sila ng mas malaking kapangyarihan at mga lupa. Nagpadala ang mga Amerika ng grupo sa Pilipinas, bagaman sinikap nilang lumipat patungo sa kalayaan ng Pilipinas. Ang bantahan ng hapon ay napakausay. So, parang tinulungan ng Amerika ang Pilipinas. Nagpadala yung Amerika ng grupo ng Amerika para tulungan yung Pilipinas. Pero, dahil mahusay yung Hapon sa pagplano, ayun, parang hindi napansin. Yung banta ng Hapon parang nalusutan. For the Japanese, the Philippines were strategically important for several reasons. Taking them would deprive the U.S. an advanced base in the religious region. It would be also provided a Japanese base for attack on the Dutch East Indies. And yung East Indies yung kanina yung lupain parang atakin na ng Japan para makuha, and would be secure lines of the supply of communication between the Japanese home islands and their conquered territories. Para makuha na nila, conquered, parang masakop na nila yung territories ng bansa yung kanila, yung sinasakop nilang bansa. Confusion followed about what to do with American planes on the ground in Philippines. No decision to prepare for an defense or attack. Japanese position led the unreadiness. Instead, many American were caught on the ground and destroyed in Japanese attack. So pumosisyon na yung Japanese para sa pag-atake nila sa bansa ng Pilipinas. Pero nakita ng Japanese na yung mga sasakyan ng Amerikano sa baba, kaya nakakita sila ng pagkakataon, kaya sinira nila to para wala nang panglaban ng pantaas na kwan. So the same day, Japanese force landed on the small islands Bataan, or on the 12th then landed the South Luzon, the islands holding the most US troops. So nagland yung Japanese sa maliit na island. Luzon island holding. On the contrary, the great majority of the Philippines people mounted the remarkably effective resistance to the Japanese investigation after the war showed that Filipinos had actively engaged the guerrilla organization, and even larger number operated covertly, and the Japanese had effective control it only 12 of the country 40 and 48 province. So na parang ano yun, yung Japanese na control, may na control na 12 na country and 48 na province. Ang pinakamalaking samahan ang pinakamalaking samahan sa guerrilla ay ang Hukbahalahap o tinatawag na People Anti-Japanese Army na pinapamunuan ni Louis Taruk na si Louis Taruk, nag-arma siya ng umulang na 30,000 mga guerrilla na kumokontrol sa halos lahat ng Luzon. So ayun lang, sir, yung